As all of you know, that this is the heart of today's event, which is the 23rd annual lecture of NDRI. And the speaker of the day is the most prominent computer engineer, academician, and the administrator, Honorable Professor Dr. K.K. Aggarwal. He is currently serving as the president of the South Asian University, New Delhi, India. The topic of the lecture is Changing Landscape of Education Philosophy and Learning in the Digital Age. May I now invite the session chair, Dr. Bindu Nath Lohani, Vice Chairman of the Board and Distinguished Adjunct Faculty of AIT Thailand, and also the former ranking Vice President, to take the seat on the dais. May I now invite our distinguished keynote speaker, Honorable Professor Dr. K.K. Aggarwal, to kindly take a seat on the dais. May I now invite Professor Dr. Madhav Prasad Pokhrel, past president of NDRI, to kindly take a seat on the dais. Thank you, everyone. Let me proceed further. To introduce our keynote speaker, I would now like to invite Professor Dr. Madhav Prasad Pokhrel. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I am Madhav Pokhrel, Professor of Linguistics from Tribhuvan University and the former President of the NDRI. Professor K.K., this morning I am destined to give introduction to Professor K.K. Aggarwal. In Nepali, Lakshmi Prasad Devkota, the great epic writer, has written in Nepali, Kesringar gula phalai kamalai lai madhon kina. So, why should it is unnecessary to decorate a rose, and Kesringar gula phalai kamalai lai madhon kina, and it is futile to wash a lotus flower. So Professor K.K. Aggarwal is here, and he has become his bio data. From his biodata, we can see it is in your handout. The handout, as a handout, it is in your bags too. He has been a very terrific personality, terrific not in a bad sense, but in the American sense. So, presently, Professor Aggarwal is the president of South Asian University, which is established by SAARC nations. So, in a way, Professor Aggarwal also represents us, Nepal, and Nepalese universities. So, he has taken academic leadership and administrative experience. He has had academic leadership and administrative experience. He was former chairman, National Board of Accreditation, India, former founder, vice chancellor, GGS, Indraprastha University, Delhi, former chairman, Board of Governors, MNIT, Jaipur, former pro vice chancellor, Guru Jambheshwar University, Technical University of Haryana, and he is the professor. He was professor at NIT Kurukshetra. He was appointed in 1975 at the age of 27, and 27 years of his distinguished service. So his PhD in reliability, evaluation and optimization from Kurukshetra University, and his master's degree is also from Kurukshetra University. He stood first and is a gold medalist. And engineering degree, his engineering degree he stood first and he was the gold medalist. His professional leadership and key affiliations. He was president of Computer Society of India between 2007 and 2009. He was the president of Southeast Asia Regional Computer Confederation between 2008 and 2010. He was president of Institution of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineers from 2002 to 2004. He was academic professor of ACSIR of CSIR, and he was a sectional president of IT and CS section in Indian Science Congress Association. His research and publications. His field of expertise is electronics and computer engineering. He has published around 400 papers in reputed journals and approximately 50% in international journals. He has authored books entitled Software Engineering, Reliability Engineering, and so on and so forth. His industrial consultancy and global invited lectures. Industrial impact and consultancy. He provided critical reliability analysis for ISRO's PSLV, Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle. And he conducted professional programs and corporate lectures for major organizations including Tata Consultancy Services, TCS, BHEL, TBS Electronics, DCM Data System, BEL, and Defense Research Labs. As he delivered a specialized presentation on reliable automotive electronics at Ford Motors, Detroit, USA. His global academic lectures, he was invited speaker at premier international institutions including University of California, Berkeley, University of Cincinnati, Florida State University, University of Birmingham, Technical University of Germany. He is honored, he has got fellowships and awards, and he has had Lifetime Achievement Awards on Computer Science of India in 2016, and from Institute of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineer, India first ever recipient in 2011. He was conferred fellowships. He has a distinguished fellowship in IET 2010. He got fellowship in Computer Society of India in 2003. He got honorary fellowship Broadcast Engineering Society from Broadcast Engineering Society of India in 2001. His major recognitions, he is declared a man of the decade, man of the century, and man of the millennium by the American Bibliographical Institute, USA. He was awarded the Delhi Ratan by the All India Conference of Intellectuals. He was honored by the Reliability Society of IEEE USA as guest editor for the special issue on state of reliability effort of the Indian subcontinent. His biography featured in the first 500 at the new millennium by the International Biographical Center in England in 2000. Today, in his keynote address, he is giving his keynote address in one sentence. I should just give the summary of his keynote. To thrive in the digital and AI age, higher education must abandon its obsolete industrial era structures such as rote testing and credit hours and fundamentally pivot to a competency-based blockchain-verified model that prioritizes human purpose, ethics, and wisdom above all else. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Pokhrel. We now arrive at a most auspicious moment of today's program. And it is my great honor and privilege to welcome our distinguished keynote speaker, Honorable Professor Dr. K.K. Aggarwal. Professor, the floor is yours.
The chair of the session, Dr. Minda Rahani. Thank you, Professor Mohan Prasad, for a nice introduction. Coming from you, one of the most famous linguist professor, gives me doubly confidence of what I am going to speak to. Ladies and gentlemen, let me first of all thank NDRI for giving me this honor of standing before you and delivering the 6th Annual Day lecture. I do hope that I come up to the expectations of this very prominent think tank of Nepal. I have learned a lot about NDRI after I was invited, let me be honest, and I find I must put it on record the great areas they are working on, the great contribution NDRI is making to the growth and development of Nepal. Having said that, let me say the knowledge today, you work for any country, you work for the whole world. Because you cannot say that I am doing something which will only benefit one pocket. Those days are gone. You generate the knowledge and it transmits. While I am speaking, it is being transmitted all over the world. So when that is the state of transmission of knowledge, then which think tank is working for what is symbolic. Maybe some local problems, yes, but ultimately you are enriching the whole world. That's my belief now. And also for the last 2+ years, when I am given the responsibility of South Asian University, I do believe that I have a little greater role to play than in the Indian higher education system, which I have been doing for more than 5 decades. Friends, South Asian region has a challenge, and that great challenge is we accommodate 25% of the world's population in less than 5% of the land area. Now, if that be so, obviously we have a tougher job to do than the other parts of the country. Less than 5% natural resources and 25% population. That's our symbolic challenge. And therefore, for us to follow the West probably will never take us anywhere. So we will have to think out of the box, or rather somebody said without the box, and see what can we think, what can we do, how can we take care of this part of the world. And if we take care of this part of the world, I am very sure we are taking care of not only 25% of humanity, but maybe the whole world in some sense. I am privileged today to find probably a very high intellectual density in this room, if I may say that. Very rarely you find an audience where the intellectual density is much higher than the physical density. And that's a pleasure I feel, dotted by many international stalwarts. I feel privileged. Thank you so much once again, NDRI, for this opportunity. The topic which has been given to me is my favorite topic, changing landscape of educational philosophy and learning in the digital age. Well, as far as digital age is concerned, I think everybody understands, knows that we are in the digital age. It's a privilege, it's a challenge. Digital age has taught us to be so fast that we can't hope to sometimes be slow. And at times, faster than required, and thereby bringing in many offshoot problems also in the process. This is true of all sections of the society. Just to convince you that if this region wishes to, we can go ahead of any region. I'll just take two examples from India. The largest database we have is Aadhaar card system. The database of Aadhaar is largest in the world, and we manage it so well. UPI transactions from India, the digital transactions, is the largest volume in the world, and we manage it reasonably well. Why I am trying to tell these examples is, it is not always that we have to follow a linear path. We start from somewhere and then reach Southeast Asia. We can start our own path, and I'll just sensitize you about what we have been doing in the past. Look to the past glory of this region and where we could reach. So I am trying to connect the dots in this time which I have. Yeah. So I thought I'll start with the philosophical foundation, because unless we look to some basic philosophies of education, we will not be able to reach anywhere. This is the sort of flow chart of my talk. I'll talk about 5 guiding principles of transformative education. I'll talk about, in 5 centuries of inertia, how much academic debt we have accumulated on ourselves, because we followed one linear path, and what are the problems we have created. Then I'll come to the AI age, which is the present age, and to do that, what are the options available to us? I'll discuss 2 possible futures, and what meta reversal we want. We need some basic reversals to make sure that we are able to steer away, and finally, what are we planning to do? Yeah. There's a basic mismatch between the educational models which are going through at the moment and what we wish to. Current model which we follow in larger part of the world, but most so in this part of the world, it was designed for 20th century. It was basically designed for industrial revolution, for industrial labor, and we were very much concerned about how many hours you work. We really never bothered how much we work. And somebody said, don't measure clock hours, measure brain hours, because that is what counts. There are people who sit in the office for 10 hours and at the end of the day achieving nothing. Is that the manpower we are using? Is that the way to progress? It was industrial age standardization. We believe too much in standardization. And I personally feel, very strongly feel, that too much standardization is antidote to meritocracy. It suppresses merit somewhere if you standardize everything, because standards are always set on the average, and therefore the highest is suppressed. And it is the brightest and the highest which takes us to the transformation in the society which we have to look for. Hierarchical knowledge transmission, we just believed that the knowledge has to go this way. I'm sorry, but if I say that, we had a belief that if I'm senior in age, I know more, which is definitely a myth today. And in very advanced countries, we have something called reverse mentoring, where juniors mentor the seniors as a formal mechanism. Because the way the technology is changing, that has to come through. And summative exam-only assessment, this probably has been one of the greatest troubles of this region. Particularly, we believe exam at the end of the semester is the assessment, and thereby buying several problems in the region. You might have heard of our exam paradox sometimes, which happens. Because that exam becomes life and death, and that is where all the problems come. And produces factory workers, not innovators. That became the education scenario. And what we need is, we have to reimagine what education philosophy we want for 21st century. Rapid technological adaptability. I many a time say there was a time in our schools when the teacher would say, how the hell you bring the mobile phone to the school? Don't you know the discipline? Today, the same teacher says, can't your father buy you a mobile phone? I have to take an online class. That change has happened during our lifetime, during our children's lifetime, within 10 years. That's the change we have to anticipate and work accordingly. Complex global problem solving. There is hardly anything. There will be some local issues, but mostly problem solving has to be now global. And the perspective of narrow boundaries is killing some issues unnecessarily. I'll talk about this. Continuous lifelong learning. We had a belief that I get my degree and then now for 40 years I can work. Now that has been the greatest myth with which we have lived, fortunately survived. But I remember having addressed a medical college convocation. I did ask the doctors. I said, you are very careful to tell the patient, when you buy the medicine, please make sure that the medicine is not expired. Have you made sure that your knowledge is not expired? That's the beauty of professions which we entered through. I learned law and I'm okay for 40 years. I learned medicine and I'm okay for 40 years. I learned some engineering and I'm okay for 40 years. So that has to go with the rapid change of knowledge. And I read knowledge which was changing it was doubling in about 50 years. Now it is doubling in less than 50 days. Now with that kind of rate of change of knowledge, if the knowledge is doubling every 50 days and we don't study for 50 years, please imagine how obsolete we are. We may or may not accept it, that's our choice, but the mathematics tells us how obsolete we have made ourselves if we don't study, if we don't upgrade. And fundamental reimagining, not incremental tweaks. We sometimes have a tendency to make a very small cosmetic change and believe we have done it. I'm sorry, I call this as self-deception. We make a small change and make the whole world believe that I have done this change, I have done something very great. But that is not working out. We have to go much faster than that. So, 5 guiding principles, which I thought I'll first illustrate. Purpose before profession. Begin with who am I, not what should I study. Our problem, particularly in this South Asian region, has been what should I study? The child is born and engineering or medicine is put into his or her blood right from day one. As if the child does not become engineer or doctor, he is useless for the society. That's a feeling which has been a killing feeling in the society. We have to understand who am I and what am I capable of doing. That has to come, and fortunately that's little easier today with technology than it was 50 years ago. That's what I'm trying to say. So sustained motivation comes from intrinsic purpose rather than external rewards. CGPA is my life. Pay package is my status. These are the kinds of misnomers which we acquire through this process of traditional education, which I think now has to change if we really have to take a quantum jump, or which I say we have to take leapfrog the system. It is not necessary for us to follow what has the word followed. We can leapfrog. And fortunately, with technological enablement, this leapfrogging is possible today. Reflection before reward. Grades need not serve as immediate rewards for performance. Self-awareness and ethical reasoning is a must, and we have to follow that. Community before competition. That's another very strong feeling. Community before competition. We were taught competition so badly that right from the child, if you're first, you're first. If you're second, you're gone. That has to go, because today's projects do not depend upon individuals, they depend upon communities. They depend upon societies, and this whole philosophy has to change. Teamwork has to take precedence over individual performance, and we have to imbibe these attributes. I say many a times now, subjects are not that important in present-day education, attributes are more important. And how do we emphasize the attributes as we go along, we'll briefly talk in this session. Verification before validation. What I mean there was, so far, our only credential of education is a piece of degree in my pocket. I have this PhD from that reputed university, so I'm qualified to do anything in the world. That's a belief with which we were doing. Have we learned anything? What have we learned in the process? I have interviewed so many PhDs who will tell, sir, this I did not do as a part of my PhD, so don't ask me this. Ask me all only what I have done in 4 years. If that is so, you will wash it off in another 4 weeks, and you serve no purpose for the society. We have to make sure that have you matured rather than have you completed PhD or have you completed master's. So that change has to come, and fortunately that change has been made possible by technology. And learning before teaching. It's a very important thing for persons of my profession. Many of we teachers felt that I am a teacher, so everything is fine with me. Unfortunately not. I have to accept and believe that my student can be brighter than me, sharper than me, more intelligent than me, more capable than me, can make more progress in the world than me. Unless we do that, I think we are doing something wrong as teachers. I'm sorry, sometimes I make strong statements, but I thought that's the way to take the word. I've said many a times, every father, every mother says my child should go ahead of me. But why doesn't every teacher feel my student should go ahead of me? If we don't do that, we don't allow the word to progress. The word will progress only and only if we make sure that the next generation is ahead of me in knowledge, in understanding, in contribution to the society, and so on and so forth. So that's the philosophical change which I am trying to tell today. Before we talk of the changing landscape, it will be better for us to understand how inertia in academics, mark my words, inertia in academics. Unfortunately, academic world has been very conservative at times, very strong in inertia. It has been most difficult to bring in changes in the academics. And that has been a very, very dangerous trend in education, and we have to change that. I remember about 40 years ago, I was addressing an industry meet in USA, and the vice president of Ford Motors walked in and he said, "Professors, please listen to us but don't follow us. You are supposed to lead us. You are not supposed to follow us." And today we tell our universities, ask the industry what do they want. We from the universities have to set the trend for the future of the industry, because industry has very many other roles to play. And therefore we said research, even if it doesn't appear to be immediate research, could be quite all right for the universities. I am not one who believe that basic research is useless. Which basic research becomes very useful research, time knows. Quantum physics is not new. Quantum computers is new. And this journey has been 50 years. At that time, quantum physics research might have been thought as a useless research. But had that not been done, quantum computers would not have come. So what could be basic and applied? It could be a matter of days, years, decades, and universities are supposed to invest in that also. Taking the toll of timely changes which must be needed from time to time, and I'll talk about this at a little length. Every democratizing technology invalidates at least one educational artifact. I'll explain with the help of some technologies. I had an article which had 18 technologies mentioned, but I've taken just 4 or 5 to bring home the point that a technology comes, it invades us. We all worship it, we talk about it, we use it as a buzzword, subsume it in our curriculum, but do not make the change which was really necessary to absorb that technology in the real sense of the word. I say all through, not today. Education center crisis is not a shortage of innovation. We have been innovative. The word innovation has become more important now because of the fast rate of change of knowledge, more emphasis on material world, immediate translation expected, and so on and so forth. All of us have studied a story in our schools which is called the thirsty crow. How did the crow quench the thirst? By putting the pebbles in the water. Was he not innovative? Had he gone to an engineering college, they would have said, okay, I'll install a pump at the bottom of the glass, and when you switch on the pump, the water will rise, you can drink it and quench your thirst. By that time, crow must have died. Had he gone to a medical college, they might have said, we'll perform surgery on your beak, elongate it, and then you will take the water. By that time, he would have died. But he was innovative. So innovation is not something which has just been born. Innovation has been there all along. Only thing is, we have not understood the importance of it, we have never appreciated it, and now because we are connecting it with wealth generation, it is becoming important. But nonetheless, yes, wealth generation is also important, but innovation in a meaningful way. It is a surplus of obsolete structures that each successive wave of technology should have swept away, but did not. When I come to the next slides, I'll explain this. Across several technologies spanning 5 centuries, from the printing press to the generative AI, a single pattern persists. Institutions add but refuse to subtract. The cumulative cost of this inertia is now existential. We are now feeling threatened by the trend with which we are very comfortable with. In 1450s around, printing press was evolved. And there are writers and authors and philosophers who are on record to say that the printing press is a danger to the knowledge game. Because earlier the entire knowledge used to be, your teacher will recite to you, you will hear it, remember part of it, and then go to the next generation. That was the only method of knowledge generation. And that is why we in India call many of our scripts as Shrutis. That means you only hear, because there was no writing or something. So there were philosophers who said this printing press is a killer of knowledge at that time. But imagine the world without printing press now. But printing press came, it gave whatever knowledge by and large was supposed to be here, it came on the books. But we still kept memory and rote learning in the same spirit. Once the chapter is written in the book, why it had to be memorized, we did not dilute it. We still kept memory as the fundamental number one of a child's education, which was not necessary now because books were there. 1970s, calculator came. Fortunately, I had started my teaching career by that time. And there were no dearth of people who said, this calculator will kill the mathematical abilities of our generation. Has it happened? Is our youth less mathematically capable than us? Certainly not. But we in the universities tried to keep calculator away as much as we could. Examination halls forbade the calculators. You can't take the calculator in the examination hall. We still kept on believing long division, 7 digits divided by 4 digits is a division process which the child must learn. Once he understands the concept of division and the calculator is there, why go to the rudimentary exercises of long division? But we did not change. Why I'm trying to tell all this is, whenever a technology came, we adopted the technology. We finally allowed the students to use the calculator, but we did not change our method of pedagogy, which put routine mathematical drill at the background, but mathematical understanding on the forefront, which calculator did not do. So we at that point should have understood what mathematics can be replaced by calculator, what mathematics cannot be replaced by calculator, and emphasize on that, change our philosophy of mathematics, and we could have produced much better, much greater mathematicians in these 4 decades, which we lost the opportunity of. Then we came 80s, we came PC and word processor. Before that, many of you would recall, a good handwriting was a great asset in the schools. If a child has nice handwriting, he was the favorite of the teachers. Steve Jobs invented fonts in the PC, and now you can have best of handwriting without putting any effort at all. You just have to choose the font. If that be so, is handwriting still important? No. Now nobody cares about it. But we still continued with insisting, still 90% of the universities, we still like handwritten examinations. You are given handwritten assignments, handwritten examinations. That still continues to be the trend. Why? When the student is most comfortable in computer, why can't he give all the exams on the computer also? Because now you are not testing his handwriting. You are only testing what he has and what he can reproduce. Then came internet in 1925. When internet came, the knowledge did not belong to a particular room. The knowledge became universal. As a matter of fact, internet is probably one system in the world. We do not know who is the owner of internet in that sense. It's available to everybody. It's all pervasive, all open. You can log in whenever you feel like. You can log out whenever you feel like. As long as you are logged in, you have to obey the rules of the game. You are logged out, you do whatever you feel like. Internet everybody uses. But still, we in the universities still felt that a student has to take all the courses in my university, not in another university, not online. Why? Is knowledge of my university my sole prerogative? That philosophy we did not change. Internet was available. All Harvard, MIT, Stanford, everything is available on the internet. But we still believe what I teach is important. That is done, I'm sorry to say, to preserve myself, not to serve the interest of the student. Because I wanted to keep myself most relevant. And therefore, I am important. In the examination hall, the student was supposed to answer the way I taught, not the answer which is correct answer. That was the secondary thing. Primary thing was how I taught, that is the correct thing to do. And thereby, I try to make sure that a perfect student is my replica. If that be so, how do we move forward? My replicas have to be abandoned. The growth would have been there. Internet was there as a great technology, but we still do not make use of it the way we should. And finally, generative AI, which has just landed. We spend enough time in the universities to criticize generative AI. ChatGPT, it's spoiling students. It is allowing them to copy in the examination hall. Well, my dear colleagues, it will happen. We can't stop it. Now, challenge is on us. How do I challenge them on an issue which generative AI cannot answer? It's for me to become more intelligent, more promising, capable of asking more questions, more intelligent questions than ChatGPT can answer. If I can't acquire that capability, ChatGPT will spoil our students and we can't help it. And we can be silent spectators to the decay of knowledge. We may or may not accept it. But we will have to be a teacher, will have to be sharper than generative AI. And that's possible only when we promote asking questions. I was reading an article. It says a child of three asks 73 questions per day. I hope it's mind-boggling to me also, maybe to you also. They say child of 3, on the average, it's a research paper, asks about 73 questions per day. Many of these questions will be very trivial. Mom, why do you want me to wear clothes? Why don't you allow me to go to the stairs? Why don't you allow me to touch fire? Why don't you allow me to handle knife? Whatever. But 73 questions per day. And I was wondering, do we allow the student to ask 73 questions in 12 years of schooling? Probably not. If that be so, the nature, the God which made the child inquisitive by his design, we in the educational philosophy has been trying to kill the nature's design, and I think that's a crime which is unpardonable. Whenever we go against the nature, we are making a crime which we should avoid, should have avoided. And can we wake up now? That's my call in this august audience. This is what I have more or less covered. The printing press, the calculator, internet, what should have happened. Now with generative AI, I say cognition itself has become democratized. Now, the cognitive sciences itself has taken a very different shape, and we do not now need the same kind of knowledge, because generative AI will do for you. Why do you now attach an importance in the history, write an essay on First World War? What does it mean? It means nothing. ChatGPT will write in 1 second. So why do you want the student to memorize that and write that? If that's a question, then we are doing something damage to education. We have to change that. Whatever generative AI can do is not examination, is not the knowledge. We have to fill out. Whatever it can analyze, we have to do better than that. Whatever it can reason, we have to do better than that. Coding, I am a professor of computer science. We spent years making the students learn coding. And a good coder was an asset to the society. Today, a good coder doesn't have anything, because ChatGPT will do the coding. You have to learn something beyond that. Synthesizing at a level that previously required years of specialized training is not synthesis today. It will have to be something else. So what must exist now? Recall-based testing should completely go away. Teaching, learning, and examination system, assessment system will have to go together. If we do not tinker with examination system, assessment methods in a big way, teaching, learning cannot change. Recall-based testing, absolutely no meaning today, because everything is available, faster than you can think. Essay as proxy for understanding. I'm used for some strong words at times. Essay as proxy for understanding. What essay, which is a historical essay, which is a collection of facts, is not an essay, unless you can think of a critical topic today. Plagiarism detection as primary AI response. We'll have to think of plagiarism itself in a slightly different context. Fiction of unaided cognition as only valid academic work. You don't use ChatGPT, don't use calculator, and then give me a piece of paper, that is your validation. That is a sadistic pleasure of testing. Once these tools are available, why should they not be used? Now I have to learn to use them without compromising the validity. Institution trust democratized. We have great values on our examination systems, but let me ask a question. If we believe our school examination system is so good, why do I want an entrance test for university? If I believe my university entrance exam is so good, why do the recruitment agencies want another test? So there is something wrong somewhere when we want to connect the knowledge with the requirement. Why can't we make that connect in the educational institutions? That's a challenge which I feel should happen. So what must exist now? Degree monopoly on credibility. It's started to happen. Now many industries don't bother about your grades. They bother about trying to test what can you do. Many recruiters now tell us, we are not, sir, very much bothered what the student knows. We are trying to somehow figure out, can he learn something which he doesn't know today? Now that's a method of assessment for recruitment. Because the situations will change. The new situations will happen which we don't know. One of the research papers says 65% of our students, 65% of our students will be doing a job whose title nobody of us knows. Now when I don't know what will my student be doing, how do I frame the curriculum accordingly? So the syllabus itself has become much less relevant when I am not at all having any imagination what the student will do. So therefore, attributes will have to come in. How can he self-learn? How can he unlearn? How can he relearn? How can he work in a team? How can he become ethical? How can he be empathy? How can he be creative? So these things will have to become more important than the subject itself. Paper transcript as primary institution as the sole validator of learning. Society will learn to evaluate the people, not this. I've almost covered this, but recall-based exams plus. So if we continue with the present method by linear extrapolation of academics, linear extrapolation of educational philosophy, recall-based exams will continue. Plus, we will have use AI for surveillance in exams rather than use AI for knowledge. Proctored exams is a great thing now. But is acquiring knowledge more important or is proctoring more important? That's the question which you have to ask. Faculty trapped by accreditation frameworks. I have been chairman of National Board of Accreditation in India, and I know, and I can make an open statement, the time and the energy wasted in the process of accreditation is probably damaging to the teaching learning processes. And that itself has to balance off. We have to understand it is the teaching learning process which is more important than its measurement alone. Only measurement doesn't take us anywhere. Measurement is just one small step in the process of teaching learning. Unfortunately, measurement became a primary factor over the main process. Students' exam became more important than attending classes. Our coaching centers became more important than schools. Our ranking mechanism became more important than real placements. Our publications became more important than citations, and so on and so forth. So we misplaced our criteria for assessment, and again, I'm sorry to say, as a measure of self-deception, because it was easy for me to publish, it was difficult for me to control citation, because citations will happen only if my paper is worth it. So I tried to confuse that and got the satisfaction in publication. So that way I tried to change my mind to suit the system rather than the real philosophical change required for the academic system. Transcripts record compliance, not competence. We just say that if somebody is A+ in mathematics, then he probably has covered these units. But has he been able to learn to solve exact real-life problems? We do not know. And many of you senior professionals would know that the solution of a problem changes from day to day. I many a time say a problem may have a different solution on Monday, different solution on Tuesday. And that's perfectly valid in life. We have to understand that. Total engineering doesn't make sense in the same fashion. I remember I went for a keynote address in Germany, and when the Vice Chancellor was taking me around the streets of Germany just to show me around, I found many roads, not of bitumen, I'm talking 40 years ago, but of the stone. I asked the Vice Chancellor, I said, Professor Fisher, your cars must be going away, tires, because your roads are not of bitumen, it's of stone. He says, yes, Professor Aggarwal, we know that. I was doubly surprised. He says, I know that. Then I said, why? He says, bitumen we have to import, tires are made in our country. So we don't mind tires being replaced, but we mind foreign exchange to be spent on bitumen. Now this may not be a correct engineering solution, but this is a correct solution in the context of that country. So that is where the contextual, we had a discussion even last evening between science and engineering. I think science gives a solution. It doesn't bother whether it is contextually correct, whether it is thematically correct, whether it's cost effective or not, but engineering gives a solution which is correct in the context, correct in the time frame, correct as far as costs are concerned. If you have a solution which is very costly, then the product will never sell. Graduates cannot navigate real world ambiguity. That's what we are coming to, and many a time we create misfits. Time-based progression remains the unjust norm. We have very, very sacrosanct philosophies that a 4-year degree is supreme than 3-year degree. I mean, I've really never understood. So I once even joked with a senior professor in my country. I said, if a boy fails 1 year, then does he become a better boy because he completes a 3-year degree in 4 years? So it's not the time which is important, it is the competence acquired which is important, and we have to learn to measure that, which is a challenge. So time-based progression only is not the philosophy which we have to have. So industrial model we talk. Now when we have to go to AI age model, which is today, it's better we change faster. We must first define purpose and values. What is the purpose of study of a student? And value system. Empathy and ethics will have to be more important than physics or chemistry or sociology or history. Cognitive skills will be needed by everybody. And technical mastery over the skills will be more important. I quote a sentence here, when machines learn to think faster than humans, which has happened. When machines learn to think faster than humans, humans must learn to feel more deeply, more wisely, more compassionate than machines ever could. If there's a competition between man and machine, in some areas machine has beaten us. Now for our survival, we must concentrate on areas where machines cannot beat us. And that is where depth of thinking, wiseness of thinking, cognitive science, empathy, feeling, and I'm saying that in the self-interest of all of us. Because machines will calculate faster than us. That's a given fact. If we want to keep on criticizing that, it's our hobby, we may do that. But then we have to be more empathic now, because that is where machines will never outbeat us. Call to action for, I'm saying for South Asian universities. Innovation without subtraction is institutional theater. We say innovation, but do not remove the obsolescence. Then we don't reach anywhere. Embrace verified portfolios. Verified portfolio means instead of the transcripts, what projects have been done, what term reports have been done, what seminars have been delivered, what internships have been done. All that should become part of transcripts rather than a single number, CGPA or something. Adopt competency credits. Replace credit hours with evidence of mastery. Value what students can do, not how long they sat in class. These are not some things very new. I am calling them as new because we all got away from this. A dance teacher still evaluates you by subjective thing. A judo teacher still evaluates you subjectively. A karate teacher still evaluates you subjectively. A craftsman still evaluates his pupils subjectively and quite nicely. But we believe mathematical evaluation is the only evaluation. Teach with AI, not against it. If we try to work against AI, we'll fail. So let's be friendly with AI, and then in friendly fight, we fight out with AI and see where we can beat AI. And a quotation which I used in one of the convocations was, use AI as your co-pilot, not as autopilot. If you allow AI to be autopilot, it may throw you down the sea one day. But if you use it as your assistant pilot, then it will help you to achieve great things. And that training we have to give to all students in all subjects, not those who are specializing in AI, not those who are specializing in computer science, but all. That's the life which philosophy demands. And purpose first, begin every curriculum with values, empathy, and ethical foundation. If we don't do that, then we are losing somewhere. South Asian University, which is my primary responsibility today, and I thought I'll take one slide there because I stand here today as president of South Asian University, and Nepal, to which most of you belong to, is as much I belong, a part of me belongs to Nepal today because of my virtue of being president of South Asian University. And therefore I thought, I'll mention this. This is probably the only university in the whole world, to the best of my knowledge, which is owned, governed, and funded by 8 governments together. I mean, even 2 governments coming together has been a challenge in the world. But 8 governments coming together to found a university, to fund a university, to govern a university. All the 8 chairmen UGCs are on my board. All the 8 foreign service officers are on my board. So that's a concept which we have not used fully. So I thought I'll make a mention of it. We all have I think, an opportunity to use it. SAU, we are ready to support Nepal and all SAARC nations in whatever way we can. We feel privileged to be of any help and guidance in the interest of higher education in Nepal, because that will justify my purpose of coming here, and upliftment of the youth of Nepal. And finally, I feel we can go to various models. SAARC at that time devised a model. And that model is that we have a university in Delhi. We can have more campuses in other countries gradually. But the model was that the students will come there, some teachers will come there, and then they will go back to their own countries. Today, I feel we can be having multi-pronged approach in the present philosophy. We do find methods of increasing enrollment from countries. For example, I have now decided, after I have taken over, that our entrance test is not the only method of coming to South. Your national test can also be a method to come to South. Your ranked merit list of your universities can only be a method to come to South. This is for all SAARC countries, including India. Joint research projects should come. More PhDs joint should come. Student exchange and faculty exchange may not be for the whole duration of the degree, but maybe for a semester, maybe for a year, maybe a much better method of increasing the cultural exchange, academic exchange between the countries. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I believe, very strongly believe, that education can be a via media for even reducing or mitigating geopolitical differences to whatever extent we can. And that channel should not be lost. And this is a beautiful channel created automatically 15 years ago. Joint faculty development programs, which is easy, particularly with online education. Immersion programs, where a student just goes for 15 days, another university, and does something. Inter-university collaboration. All the countries come together for any agenda. That is, if I'm permitted to say, that is something I think inherently wrong with SAARC, because all the 8 countries have a veto power for everything. that makes decision taking very difficult. So we go to bilateral, trilateral, multilateral, whatever is possible to do in the best interest, as long as it doesn't harm anyone. Let there be no necessity of everybody must come on board. So inter-university collaborations, joint conduct of programs in whatever issue. And SAU campus in other countries, we are exploring some. I've had some discussions here also in this. So that's what we can do together. Let the universities in South Asia not follow the West failed model of adding technology to unreformed structures. You don't reform the structure and technology. Technology doesn't give you the benefit. You have to do the basic redesign first and then use the technology. You can't paint an old house and believe it has become stronger. If you want to renovate your house, you will have to demolish a part of it and rebuild it. So let's rebuild the structures first, then use technology, then only technology will be helpful to us. Let's build education for the age it inhabits. We are in 2026 today. So let's see what's the requirement of today. And only thing which I am requesting to this august audience, because I rarely get an audience of this level, and therefore I have a right to say that, it's not necessary for me to follow what happened in 1900, 1920, 1940, and so on. We can straightaway think what can be done in 2026 and do that. That's possible by technology. That's possible by our intellect. That is possible by the inherent capabilities of this region. And that's what I'm here to request you for your guidance, help, and assistance, and ensure that NDRI, which is on a great mission of thinking, is helped by all of us to evolve still better. Thinking is our USP. And we have to imbibe that. Technology will be enabler of our thinking. Technology will not replace our thinking. With that clarion call, I end my formal talk. I'm open for any discussions, suggestions. Thank you very much. Come here. Okay.
Thank you, Professor Aggarwal, for such an insightful and thought-provoking keynote address. For the further proceeding, may I now pass the floor to the session chair for the floor discussion and the closing remarks of the technical session first.
We've already passed the time, but she says we can take 15 more minutes, which means our lunch will be delayed. She says I need to have floor discussions. It means we need to hear from the floor. Since we have 10 minutes, I'll keep 5 minutes for closing. The next 10 minutes, if there are any remarks, views, queries, we'd like to have that. Let's have 3 to start with. Professor Thara Nirola, I saw that hand. There are 3. Okay, let's take those 3. 2 hands there, 1 hand there, 3. I don't know your name, but you can introduce when you speak. Please go ahead. Short, very short.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was very enlightening. My question to you is, if you were to start a new university, how would you imagine the role of the faculty in the first place?
No. We hold. Please hold it. I think we take them all. 2 more.
Thank you. I'm Dheeraj Pradhananga. from Tribhuvan University. Thank you, Professor Aggarwal, for your insightful presentation. My quick question is, I agree, all of what you presented related with a new era for education system. But there are several questions, but one question that I really want to ask you, with the admission criteria that is emerging in Asia as well, like English proficiency test, for example, IELTS or TOEFL, such kind of, what do you think? Will they exist, or those should be replaced by something new ways of testing, how you qualify any candidates for admissions for graduate or
Third question.
Thank you so much. My name is Ram Adhikari. My question would be about integrating. Is it relevant to integrate traditional knowledge and technology of our region into the changing context of the education in the age of artificial intelligence? Is it relevant? If it is relevant, how to integrate our traditional knowledge and technologies into this new system? Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll take two more. I think the questions are very short. Professor Mathe.
Thank you, Professor Aggarwal. I think your comments are very insightful. My question is, I think for any reform to be really implemented effectively, I think it will have to be done through the faculty. I mean, there will be, of course, leadership direction from the senior management, but the faculty, they are living in their own comfort zone, and then they are not keeping up with the technology changes. I think I would like to know how you have tried to tackle this problem in the institutions that you have headed, because I think until and unless we really get the faculty very innovative, entrepreneur in thinking, I think trying to make reforms in the education industry will be very difficult. Thank you.
We'll still take one more, then we'll have him respond. I hope you remember them all. If not, just reply whatever you remember. Yeah. We can interact during the lunch. Something for the second half? Okay. Go ahead. Okay, there's a lady there. Please go ahead. If we are not fully addressing your question because we don't hear very well, we will do that during the lunch interaction.
My name is Menuka Karki. These days we have a distance learning system, but in Nepal we see not so much flourishing distance learning system. So do you have any specific midway, not fully distance, and half, or some certain, and there has been talk about integrating your local knowledge, community knowledge, and then, learning from the field. So how could it all be integrated? Learning from the field, getting the classroom education and the distance knowledge. Could it all be integrated in one? Can you suggest something?
Okay, that's enough for the time being. Professor Aggarwal, please reply whatever you can. Whatever you haven't heard properly, we'll make it up during lunch. Whatever you want for. You want here?
Which one is?
Maybe you can do it.
Friends, thank you for your comments, observations, and questions, if I may say that. In view of the limited time frame, I'll just like to talk in general about all the questions which I felt. I think one of the central things which has come up is a role of teachers. Unless the teacher is empowered, nothing is going to change. That's for sure. And we will have to learn to empower the teachers, which unfortunately has been very poor in this part of the world. Because our teacher empowerment has been very poor. Teacher is questioned on everything. How did you fail a student, you have to answer. How did you give grades, you have to answer, which doesn't happen in the West. So let's learn one good thing from the West, that the teacher is the sole custodian of that course, and that's the end of it. Unless that happens, things will not improve. Many people tell me whenever I talk on such subjects, sir, but many teachers are not mature enough to be empowered. My simple answer is, did they appoint themselves or did we appoint them? If we appointed immature teachers, let us appoint. There didn't no teacher in this world appointed himself or herself. So teachers' empowerment has to be a given situation for any educational improvement, and we have to do that. Because if we don't empower teachers, we are in a trap. And the affiliation system, which is there in this part of the world, unfortunately, is well accepted as the worst academic system in the world. Because a system where somebody teaches, somebody else sets the question paper, somebody else marks the answer sheets, is known to be the most hopeless academic system in the whole world. The Britishers gave us 50 years before our independence, and they abandoned it before we became independent. And we have continued with it for 100 years. And so far, this affiliation system exists only in Southeast Asia, practically. A whole world has abandoned it. So I think teachers' empowerment, first, a teacher is the master of the course, has to be done. Secondly, admission criteria, again, because you don't accept the teacher's empowerment, you challenge. Nobody asks Stanford, how have you rejected me? Nobody asks Harvard, how have you rejected me? They say it's our choice. It's our choice. See, why we question everything? Questioning everything is also having its own problems. Well, it's a balance between the two, but I many a times ask, you go to the doctor with your child and say both of us have flu. Doctor gives you some medicine, gives some different medicine to your child. Could you question the doctor? Nobody has ever done that. Because you believe that he knows it better. So why don't we believe that the university knows better for the society, teacher knows better? So unless the empowerment in education goes from university to government to university, university to college, college to teacher, teacher to student. If we say the student has a right to decide what to study, then he will have to have the freedom to say that I don't like these 3 subjects of Tribhuvan. I will like to go to Kathmandu for these 3 subjects. And the system will have to enable it, allow it. And we have in India designed this by what we call as academic bank of credits. That just like you put money in the bank in any branch, it goes into your account. So academic bank of credits is like a bank for each student. You study a course anywhere, it goes into your bank account, and when you complete the credits, you get your degree. So these kinds of changes will have to come if we have to adopt changes. And my summary sentence again will be, please, if you want to do justice to change, please be bold enough to change. And let's assume we are on the right track. If we make a mistake, we do the mid-course correction if required. Even space missions have mid-course correction. Education can have that. That's my point. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, we will need to wrap this session. I have taken a few notes, but I'm not going to say everything. But first of all, I think on our behalf, we need to thank Professor Aggarwal for a very insightful and I think a very timely address. Let's clap. Thank you. Thank also the audience who have made some comments. I'm sure there are many more. We need to interact during lunch. Talking while eating is a good session. I personally think that Professor Aggarwal highlighted a very important reality for all of us. The philosophy of education itself is changing. Not only the tools, not only the technology, but the very way we think about learning, knowledge, and the role of university. I think you said the current model to new model is very, very sound. The 5 guiding principles he mentions are very, very relevant. Your comments reminded that in the digital age, education can no longer remain confined to traditional classrooms. Memorization, rote, the current grading system, or a static curriculum. I think all very right. Learning, and you said learning before teaching, is becoming even more important. I see Vice Chancellor Karki, I think he's established a Center for Teaching and Learning. And just an anecdote, one professor asked us, we told them, you all professors, students will have to go on this session on teaching and learning. And the professor told us, I've been teaching for 30 years. I need to go through the orientation on how to teach? Our answer was yes. You're not going to teach the way you were teaching, go a 1-hour class, 55-minute lecture, and then say, see you next week. That's no longer acceptable model of teaching. So the Center for Teaching and Learning Educational, headed by Professor Tara, is probably going to, so far as I know, the first in Nepal. And I think this is needed at this point in time for the universities. Because learning has become continuous, as you said, and I agree, lifelong learning, personalized, interdisciplinary. This is the spirit of also the University of Nepal, and technology-enabled digital learning. It's seamless nowadays. You're taking courses, could take anywhere from anywhere and credits. This is happening already, and not to do this is behind time. At the same time, I think even in an AI-driven world, with lots of data centers that we hear, education must remain deeply human, people. I think this shouldn't be forgotten. And a few more notes I took. I think university is not only preparing skilled workers, they are shaping them. Values, judgments, leadership, creativity, critical thinking, asking good questions are they could get more grades than just finding an answer. Critical thinking and the innovation. Innovation in the university, I used to be in university too one time. We go into academic publication, take it to the lab, then we don't know how to take it further to reality, how to turn that into enterprise and reality. They call the valley of death. And that is where I think the innovation need to move on. To make what you develop in the university has to be turned into reality, make sense, make business sense. And of course, we need to also make sure that every student, every graduate we produce should be a responsible citizen. I think you can't forget your country. I also think that Professor Aggarwal's observation is especially relevant to countries like Nepal. The digital age presents major disruptions, we know this, happening globally, but it also presents an opportunities for countries willing to rethink, reform their education system early. And therefore, the challenge before the university today is not simply to adopt technology, it is to rethink, as he used the word, out of the box. Out of the box. How to teach, as I said. How students learn. What students would have in their mind. What skills matter. And what kind of human capital we want to build for the future. All these are important parts in this rethinking process of the reform. And I also like his last slide, which said, let the university in South Asia not follow the West model, not only say West model, West failed model. I think that was the word he used, with emphasis added on the word failed model of adding technology to the unreformed structure. So if this is a very, very powerful message, I think very, very thankful for your lecture on behalf of all of us. here, we'd like to thank you. Thank you for coming to Nepal. Keep coming, keep interacting. All the action points you mentioned on collaboration, joint faculty, etc., I think all valid points. I'm sure the relevant institution here will develop such relations. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for the engaging interaction and thoughtful questions. We now come to a very special moment of today's program, and we would like to express our sincere gratitude and respect to our esteemed keynote speaker. May I now respectfully invite Honorable Professor Dr. K.K. Aggarwal, President of South Asian University, to kindly receive the token of appreciation from NDRI. May I now request Session Chair Dr. Bindu Nath Lohani to kindly hand over the token of appreciation to Honorable Professor Dr. K.K. Aggarwal. Wait. We are extremely delighted to offer an additional souvenir to South Asian University. The content of the plaque is shown on the screen. It is related to the unplugged activity which helps the student to know how does a computer work. A demo version of this is available at the exhibition area outside. I'm also delighted that NDRI has been granted a copyright of this production and distribution of these unplugged activities from the government of Nepal. I'd also like to take a moment to read the inscription of the memento. Logo of NDRI, Nepal Vikas Anusandhan Pratishthan, Nepal Development Research Institute. NDRI's 23rd anniversary logo, celebrating 23rd year of service to the nation. NDRI's 23rd anniversary logo. On behalf of the school students learning computer science in Nepal, Nepal Development Research Institute, NDRI, takes the pleasure to present sorting network for arranging the name of SAARC nation in alphabetical order. To all the students of the SAARC nation, through the South Asian University. Thank you, sir. May I now respectfully invite Mr. Waruna Wilpethia, Director of Education, Security and Culture, SAARC Secretariat, Kathmandu, Nepal, to kindly receive the token of appreciation and memento from Nepal Development Research Institute. Logo of Research Institute. NDRI's 23rd anniversary logo, celebrating 23rd years of service to the nation. NDRI's 23rd anniversary logo. On behalf of the school students learning computer science in Nepal, Nepal Development Research Institute, NDRI, takes the pleasure to present sorting network for arranging the name of SAARC nation in alphabetical order. To all the students of SAARC nation through the SAARC Secretariat. Signature, Joy Kumar Gurung, PhD President. Signature, Sika Thapa Magar, PhD Executive Director. 23rd Annual Day Ceremony, May 19, 2026. Thank you, everyone. We will now break for lunch, networking, and exhibition. May I kindly request everyone to reassemble in hall by 2 p.m. for the commencement of the technical session second. During the break, we warmly welcome and encourage everyone to visit the exhibition stalls and take the opportunity to explore the diverse showcase and initiative presented by NDRI. For lunch arrangements, may I request you kindly proceed towards the right side of the hall, where our NDRI team members will be available to guide you. But before that, we would like to capture this memorable gathering through an official photo session, which will be at the outside of the hall. May I respectfully invite our distinguished dignitaries and participants to kindly join us for the photographs. And I request our NDRI team and colleagues to help with the arrangements and the guidings. Thank you.